this guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
When we last left our superheroes, that was last Tuesday, the committee will recall that a motion was passed to invite, well, first of all, Stephen Anderson Stefan Anderson was invited, as well as Kirsten Poon. There was also within the motion the request for records, text messages, emails, etc., iMessages, instant messages for Stefan Anderson and Randy Boissinault. So I just want to update the committee where we're at. I can tell you that immediately following that meeting, there were invitations that were sent to Ms. Poon and Mr. Anderson. There was a lot of back and forth that went on between the clerk and the two invitees. And unfortunately, they declined the committee request. I tried to get them here today. We tried to get them here this morning. Subsequent to that, I asked the clerk to make available additional time on Wednesday evening, and then, of course, Thursday morning we have another meeting scheduled of the committee, at which point we heard back from Ms. Poon, and that correspondence was sent to the committee members this morning, that she is available the week of July 15th. To this point, on the subsequent invitation, we haven't heard back from Mr. Anderson, but the message that we heard from Mr. Anderson last week was that he felt it was short notice and that he was out of the country and that he would be available at some point in July. I'm not certain when that point might be, but it was at some point in July. So that's the status of where the invitations for the witnesses are right now. So, Mr. Barrett, I saw your hand up first. Go ahead, please.
Chair, I'd like to move that pursuant to Standing Order 108-1A, the committee summons the following witnesses to appear before the committee for no less than 1 hour together on the week of July 15, 2024. Kirsten Poon of Navis Group and Stefan Anderson of Global Health Imports. Okay,
thank you, Mr. Barrett. The motion is in order. I've got Mr. Green on the motion. Did you want to say anything, or you just
very quickly,
go ahead.
Chair, both witnesses in your explanation this morning, we've learned that Mr. Anderson was not available until July, and Ms. Poon is available that week in July, and to be consistent with the initial motion that was passed by the committee not to relitigate the length of time, I think that both witnesses should appear for an hour independently of one another, an hour for Ms. Poon, an hour for Mr. Anderson. That was not the will of the committee at the previous meeting, so I'm not looking to relitigate that. But if the committee is, this is going to be our last substantive opportunity to plan to get some answers on this question, and having Ms. Poon and Mr. Anderson both have an obligation to appear that week, knowing that they both have July availability, when members' availability is going to be, limited during the month of July, or not previously planned time in Ottawa. This is incredibly important to get answers that have been, dogging this committee for weeks now. We need to find out who the other Randy is, what Minister Randy Boissinault's involvement was with Global Health Imports while he was serving as a minister, and of course what his ongoing interests are with Navis Group, a lobbying firm that lobbied his government that he was receiving payments from while serving in cabinet. This is an opportunity to do that.
Okay, so I've started a list. I've got Mr. Green next.
Thank you.
Mr. Fisher, and then Ms. Damoff. Go ahead, Mr. Green, on the motion that Mr. Barrett just moved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and certainly, members around the table are very well aware of my feelings about arbitrary meetings in non-sitting times. I would caveat it by saying that this isn't arbitrary, given the fact that Ms. Poon herself volunteered to be here on the 16th. Notwithstanding the fact that we have to respect that, I would ask, Mr. Chair, and I do seek that you're getting some direction from the clerk, but I'm unclear in the escalation of inviting witnesses, that a summons is particularly necessary. I know that it fits a certain dramatic theme in communications, but I think that given that they have not put in writing, or we have not received in writing a refusal, that they're volunteering to come here, I think the language of a summons, although may suit certain communication styles, isn't necessary. And so I'm wondering through you, Mr. Chair, to the mover of the motion, what the intention is of using the language of a summons. I'll say, like on the record, I believe that we have the power to summons anybody. But I do think it's a professional courtesy in working with witnesses to find an available time and escalate in a manner that is consistent with their agreement to participate. This witness has not refused to come to committee. So I'm just wondering if the mover of the motion would be open to and considering, just removing the term summons and continue with the language invite until such time as the witness decides that they're going to send us in writing a refusal.
Go ahead on the point of order, and I believe Mr. Green asked a question through the chair, and I do know that the clerk has some information that she would want to share with the committee. Go ahead on a point of order.
On a point of order, the motion that I moved is different than the motion that I provided in writing to the clerk that was circulated to members of the committee.
Okay.
In the motion that I've moved,
yep.
I said, following the word together, the week of July 15th, did I say 15th or 14th? Let me just check here. The week of July 15th, not on July 15th.
Okay.
So I wanted to provide that latitude, and then when the chair will allow, I'll respond to Mr. Green.
That was one of the things that the clerk had brought to my attention, so that we're clear, it's the week of July 15th. The mail with the motion has been sent in both languages to all members of the committee. Just a couple of things that I would note that need to be clarified within the motion. Somebody needs to put further to the motion that was passed, that needs to be added to this, so that we are clear on the direction of the committee. And the other thing is, the week of July 15th, I'm going to need a year, because we all know that words matter. 2024 is the year we're in, and if we leave it open-ended, then it is open to interpretation. So I want to make sure that that's clarified. Mr. Green, when we left, you still had the floor, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to make one note, just as it relates to the spirit of the motion that was originally passed. You just stated that we need to add an amendment further to the motion that was passed. If you recall, I believe the motion that was passed suggested that the witnesses meet together. And so, like, for me, whether they're together, this says that as well? Yeah. 1 hour together. Okay, good. So I will then move the following, that the words further to the motion that has passed been added, and that we delete summons and include invite, and that the year 2024 be added to the week of July 15th.
Okay, so Mr. Green is moving an amendment. I don't think I need to stop the meeting in order for that to be understood, and I appreciate you clarifying that, Mr. Green. Do you have any other comments on that, on your amendment? So we're on the amendment.
So I'm interested in when those invites were sent, and this speaks to Mr. Green's amendment to amend the motion to say invite, because it was really a week ago that we passed that motion, and I didn't see anything from what the clerk said that indicated that they were not willing or somewhat enthusiastic to come to committee. So I think that summons is a strong word, and I think it's probably a word that we, may have to use someday, but I'd say in this situation I agree with Mr. Green. But I'd be interested in when the invites were sent, what dates were offered, when did they respond? Was it immediate? Did the witnesses ever refuse or hesitate to appear? And what other dates have been offered since their response?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be read out now if you don't want to read it.
Okay. Well, I have no issue saying it. I touched base by phone in order to get the email address as soon as the motion was adopted, so within a few hours of the meeting being over. So that was July 11. And the two witnesses talked to me over the phone.
June 11th, just to be clear.
Sorry, I said July.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they gave me the email address, and I proceeded to send the invitation right away on the same day. So that was June 11. And then I did talk with some, and some came with the answer by email faster. And on this Friday, I sent a renewed invitation offering other dates. But I can prepare all that and send a distribution. Sure.
I'll support that amendment that Mr.
There was
Green.
also, there was some back and forth with legal counsel as well, representing the two witnesses as well. So we can include that in all of an email, if you like, okay? Okay, so on the amendment, I don't have any other discussion. We don't have consensus, we'll go to a vote on the amendment. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
So on the amendment from Mr. Green, everybody heard the term of the amendment? Good.
Should be clear.
Mr. Baines?
Yes.
Ms. Damoff?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher? Yes. Mr. Hauswater?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett? Mr. Brott?
No.
Mr. Cooper? No. Monsieur Villemur?
Oui.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Yeas 7 pour 7, nays 3 contre 3.
Okay, so the amendment does carry, so we are on the main motion. We are voting, well, we're not voting. Do we have consensus on the motion as amended? Yes. We do?
No.
We're going to call the vote. Go ahead, Madam Clerk, on the vote.
Mr. Baines?
Yes.
Ms. Damoff?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Wait.
Mr. Hauswater? Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Monsieur Villemur?
Oui.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Madam Clerk?
10 yeas, oui, 10.
Okay, so that's unanimous. Motion passes as amended, and I'll do it in the morning as well, okay? Just to be clear, that's the offer that's going to go out. Mr. Green, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move a motion
Go ahead.
that notwithstanding the week of July 16th, as per the usual practice of the House of Commons, standing committees, that the Standing Committee for Ethics shall not meet during Parliament's summer recess unless the requirements of the 106.4 of the standing orders are met.
You said the week of July 16th. The 15th is the Monday. So, right? You
It
meant,
doesn't even have to be in the motion. I'm just saying that
Okay, all right.
I'm accepting that week because of the work we just did.
okay. We're in committee business. The motion is in order. Debate. Mr. Green, anything to say?
I think the motion is self-explanatory.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Mr. Barrett, go ahead.
Chair, I think it's important that we recognize that the standing orders of the House allow for chairs of committees to use their prerogative to call meetings when necessary and within the mandate of the committee. I think that as a opposition chaired committee, that it's incredibly important that this is an accountability committee, and so often we see that. There are members who don't recognize the need for all members, all backbenchers, to hold the government to account. And that term, I mean members on all sides of the House need to make sure that the executive is kept in check. And so when the standing orders have been adopted by the House and allow for the chair of a committee to call a meeting, that the committee not not act contrary to those standing orders of the House. It's a power that is used sparingly or rarely, but I think that it's important that it's one that's preserved. And when we look at the work that this committee has done, and you look at the issues that have been in front of this committee, whether it's the $60 million Arrive scam and a government that says there's nothing to see here, there's no, this was necessary in the context of the pandemic, and therefore all expenses were justified, and everyone should move on. It's taken incredible lifts by committee and an awful lot of energy just to get committees to lift this off the ground. And once it's off the ground, we seem to find new information that is revealing to this government's lack of a respect or fiduciary responsibility for Canadians. We have $60 million and on an app that saw massive subcontracting. 30% of those subcontracted fees were for people who did no work on the app, and that's not acceptable, especially in the context of Canadians who are struggling to pay their bills and struggling to just get by. And this committee has been seized with on multiple occasions ethical scandals involving the Prime Minister.
I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the Prime Minister, if he didn't cross the line of obstructing justice, he came right up to the line in sort of the best case scenario for the Prime Minister.
Chair?
Go ahead on your point of order.
Thank you very much. I hate to interrupt, but can you let the committee know what resources? I understand we have resources to 1:30 or
1:12 today.
1:12?
Yeah. So we have maximum of 2 hours. The meeting started at 11:02. We suspended for 10 minutes, and that brings us to 1:12.
There's no way of getting more, so Mr. Cooper can continue?
I'm not sure, because the instructions that I have were maximum 2 hours today. So, okay. Hold on. We have till 1:12, Mr. Fisher, okay?
It goes back to what I was saying earlier, that there is this culture of corruption within this government. And it starts at the top. The corruption starts at the top, and it starts with the Prime Minister. I have no doubt that the culture that we have seen is a direct result of what the standard that he has set. That the Conflict of Interest Act doesn't apply to me. That I'm, as the all-powerful Prime Minister, going to put pressure on my Attorney General to interfere in a prosecution, but I don't think should go forward, notwithstanding that the Director of Public Prosecutions made the independent determination that prosecution ought to go forward. That I'm going to fire my Attorney General when she stands up for the rule of law, and I can get away with it because I'll just cover it up, just hide behind cabinet confidence. And, my colleague Mr. Brock talked about Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott when they were kicked out of the Liberal caucus. They Justin Trudeau invited the media to come. They found out, I
Point of
think,
order.
basically through the media.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead on your...
I know it's 1:11 and you're going to get ready to gavel down, but I would request that you suspend the meeting rather than adjourn it, just like we did last time we didn't finish debate, so we can get to a vote at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Justin Trudeau invited the media to watch the spectacle of Liberal MPs who, as Mr. Brock said, acted like trained seals and gleefully cheered on the Prime Minister, cheered on the Prime Minister's corruption.
Okay, Mr. Cooper, I'm going to have to cut you off there because we have reached the maximum of our resources. The challenge, Mr. Fisher, with that is if I suspend and we don't have a meeting on Thursday, then that suspension carries over to the summer, and that provides all kinds of difficulties for the committee and me as the chair. So the meeting is adjourned.